All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and the Pickle Crew Show with a little NFL draft update. The Niners have selected in round 4, and they've gone with one of my favorite players in the entire draft. Malik Mustapha, the safety from Wake Forest, is now a 49er. This is a phenomenal pick, and we'll go through. I know they've picked other players as well, and we'll get into them in different videos, but we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, 2 locations, Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Pig and a Pickle. Man, Malik Mustapha, well, this is one of my favorite guys. Number 3 for Wake Forest. He goes number 124 in round 4 to the 49ers. This was the pick that came from Dallas for Trey Lance. There were many people who believed that the 49ers wouldn't make a selection here, that they would wind up moving this selection to try. So there wasn't that direct comparison to, well, they got Trey Lance and they turned it into player X, but obviously they didn't fear that. And they took Malik Mustapha. And if Mustafa's as good as I think, this is actually a fair trade-off for Trey Lance. I love Malik Mustapha. Why? Because he's a thumper. He's an old school hitter. John Lynch, was a big time hitter. And I asked him this week, I said, hey, do you like thumpers at safety, or is it more of a coverage game? And, he smiled, and it's like, you know what? He likes guys who separate receivers and tight ends from the football. So they get Malik Mustapha, and he's a tremendous player. He had an 87.5 run defense grade this year, which was 15th among Power 5 conference safeties. He's a little on the small side, but he doesn't play small. 5'10", somewhere between 205 and 210. Born in Charlotte, North Carolina. Really, really good talent. 0 penalties over 4 seasons. So not a single penalty. He's got special team experience, so he can help them as a gunner. And so, I mean, that obviously is a great thing. And he went to Audrey Kell High School, then transferred his final year. 80 tackles this year. I mean, this guy is a tackler. He's a hitter, and he really does move well. They tracked him at 23 miles per hour in the GPS as far as game speed. He tore his ACL back in 2021. And yet he's come back with a vengeance. And if you look at what he did this year, run defense, his Pro Football Focus grade, 96th percentile. Run stop, Pro Football Focus, 95th percentile. Slot coverage, Pro Football Focus, 90th percentile. This is a field safety. This is a guy that can cover the field. This guy can play free safety and let Jair or Hufanga play in the box. In the cover 3, he can be that single high. What I love about him more than anything, I mean, outside of the fact that he's a violent hitter, is he is a super, super competitor. Really, really good competitor. I like what the Niners are doing here on day 3. He held opposing quarterbacks to a 32% completion rate, and, really, really good player. I mean, Niners met with him in Indianapolis at the scouting combine. He was not a heavily recruited player out of high school. He was recruited by Richmond, and he went there, and then he transferred. But the ball production's not huge. Didn't have tons of interceptions, so you there's some concern there. But team captain, explosive hitter, incredible competitor, very, very smart. I love Malik Mustapha. There'll be a bunch of people call him Malik, by the way, but he goes by Malik Mustapha, and just a tremendous player. This guy is they needed safety help, and you looked at it. Jaden Hicks was on the board, but they decided to go for Mustapha. Mustapha is, to me, one of like 3 or 4 safeties that I like. By the way, Sione Vaki just went to Detroit. So Vaki's no longer on the board, but Mustafa's a better player than Vaki, even though I love Sione and I wanted that Sione to be a Niner in the worst way so we could have him on the show. And how cool would that be? He's from Antioch, but Mustafa's better. Mustafa, the combination of he hits like a truck, He can cover. He's smart. He's competitive. He's the team captain. He's persevered through some difficult times in his career. He's got experience on special teams. He's disciplined. He doesn't commit a bunch of penalties. I love him. Absolutely love him. Think it's a great pick. I think this is, you added now Renardo Green at corner. They needed at least one corner, but they needed a more of a number one corner, somebody who had kind of number one characteristics. And even though Renardo Green was not viewed by draftniks as a number one corner, I think he truly is. Safety wise, they really did need not just a safety, but a safety that can play right away, because you really only have Jair Brown and you have Talanoa Hufanga. And then after that, George Odom's a special teamer. Taylor Hawkins is more of a practice squad guy. Eric Harris is a street free agent. In Mustapha, you're getting a player that can start. He can start. He can start at free safety right away. So I really like that pickup. To me, getting a guy like Mustapha on day 3 is a real find, because you're getting a player that is physical against the run, but also can play the deep middle. I mean, that's the thing in the NFL. You can be, there were guys, Jalen Carley's and a couple other guys, big bodied physical guys that were like the safeties of the 80s, 220 pounds, hit like a truck, almost like modern linebackers in today's game. Well, that's not the game. You have to be able to play coverage. If you can't play coverage, you can't play. You're in your sub package a huge percentage of the time, close to 80% of the time. The game is a passing game now, and you have to be able to play pass coverage. But at the same time, you got to have guys, you got to have safeties, and the Niners saw it this year. Gibson could play the deep middle as far as pickoff passes, but he wasn't a great coverage player, and he wasn't strong against the run. And then when they lost Hufanga, they really lost a lot in their run D. Look at their run D and what they allowed pre Hufanga's injury and after he went out. You have to be able to play the run, but you got to be able to play coverage. And it's very difficult to find this player that is incredibly physical against the run and will, intimidate teams from running the football and give you that extra linebacker in the box, and have the ability to cover the deep middle and make big plays down the field in the passing game and close down the space. And it's just a very difficult spot to fill on a football team. And for the Niners to get Malik Mustapha, at this point, I think is fantastic. So the no penalties is awesome. The 5'10", 210, I don't worry about that. He plays bigger than that. He's got special team experience. He can play the deep middle. He's field fast. He's got great production both against the run and the pass. But to me, the violence stands out, but what's really stands out is this is a smart, competitive football player who brings a lot of physicality. So, that to me, this is a very, very good pick by the 49ers, in my opinion. One of their best picks so far. So we're going to do a little breakdown on all of the picks going forward. And the Niners have picked a couple more exciting offensive players that we'll talk about coming up next. But thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to all you guys for supporting the Krug Show. Malik Mustapha is a 49er. It's not Malik, it's Malik. Malik Mustapha is a 49er, and I think he's going to be a great one. Mustapha, think about what you got now. You got Hufanga, Jair Brown, Mustapha, and George Odom. You got a Pro Bowl cover guy. You got a really good rookie, and you got 2 outstanding young safeties right there. So I think they could even go for another safety either late in this draft or possibly as an undrafted free agent, because they are looking for numbers there. But Mustapha, absolute great draft pick by the 49ers, and they're having some real success here on day number 3. And we'll talk more about it as we get into our next videos on the next picks they make. And we'll do this individual video and live stream for every single 49er that gets picked, and then we'll do a post-draft breakdown as well. O'Neill's going to be in the house. We'll do a whole breakdown. So appreciate all of you. Thanks to Pig in a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. And now the 49ers on to the rest of day 3 as they continue to make football additions to their roster. Probably the most exciting day of the year if you're a Niner fan, because you get all the day 3 picks, all the undrafted guys. It's all coming up. Keep it locked right here on the Krug Show.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of.